Hey, Tom.
Hey, JC.
We made it, buddy.
I just woke up yesterday.
We survived WrestleMania 35 week.
That should be a t-shirt right there.
I think I posted it in the Discord, the achievement unlocked from the Xbox 360, and just captioned it, "You have survived WrestleMania week."
Oh, Josh Bailey. Sorry, audience. We're recording this as the Islanders-Pittsburgh game is going, and Josh Bailey could have won the game with 6 seconds left, and he hit the post.
Still need the Pens to win for my bracket. That's all that matters.
Bracket schmack it.
Yep. So I'm not going to drag this cold open out long today.
No.
Because we have a lot to cover, because it was the busiest weekend of the year, and I'm still running on very little sleep, recovering from it. So we've got to talk about, here we go, let's start the rundown. NXT Takeover New York.
Yeah.
The WWE Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
The Ring of Honor New Japan G1 Supercard.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the indie stuff I watched. Of course, of most note, Joey Janela Spring Breaks Part 1 and 2.
All right.
We have to talk about the 35-hour marathon of WrestleMania.
Still going on now, I believe.
Yeah. And then Raw and SmackDown.
I guess those happen too.
I think I tweeted this, but Tom, I watched 27. Wow, I can't even talk. 27 hours of wrestling since Friday.
There should be a Surgeon General's warning or something like that.
Yeah, I'm so glad I'm not watching wrestling right now. Like, I'm glad I'm just talking about it. I'm also glad I'm not tweeting right now. I can't look at Tweetbot anymore. But yeah, so I think we should just dive right in. What do you say?
Yeah, let's roll into it.
All right, before I do that, though, you got to do me a favor.
If I'm awake enough, I'll try.
All right, can you ring the bell?
I'll try it.
You're listening to the Cheaters Never Pin podcast, a proud part of the Section 328 network, bringing you all the best in wrestling from WWE, New Japan, and beyond. Now, live from ringside, it's Mr. Workrate and JC.
Oh, buddies, it's the Cheaters Never Pin podcast. My name is Wow.
His name is JC. And beside him at the ringcast table is me, Tom.
Just call it the ringcast table?
I don't know. I don't have to do these things. You do.
Let me try it again. My name is JC, and here next to me at the commentary table to the stars is my good buddy, Mr. Workrate, Tom.
Yeah, that sounded better.
There you go. Sorry, I skipped an entire chunk of words there, and it's been a long weekend, folks.
It has.
Yeah. So let's dive right in. What do you say?
Yeah, let's get this rolling. I want to get this done before tomorrow.
Let's start. Yeah, well, this isn't WrestleMania, fortunately. So since we had the first ever 2-day WrestleMania, they're trying to be they're trying to be Wrestle Kingdom and go 2 days now. All right, so let's start with the NXT Takeover New York special from the Barclays Center. What a great show, as always.
Yeah.
Maybe, where does it rank among your all-time kind of perceptions of Takeover? Because I thought the last one was one of the weakest ones to me.
Yeah, it's difficult because Takeover is, it's the joke that just, like when you talk about pizza, there's technically no such thing as bad pizza. It's just layers of good, and that's what Takeover is. It's, some days you get true New York style from like Brooklyn, and some days you get, Little Caesars.
Some days you get Alfredo's Pizza Kitchen, and some days you get Pizza by Alfredo's.
Yes.
That reference was for you alone.
Yeah. But, it was a really strong show. That's what we kind of expect at this point. But for something that was kind of more or less put together because of injuries and other unforeseen circumstances, I think they did a hell of a job, all things considered.
Yeah.
And just altogether a well done show.
Really, yeah. Probably one of my top 5 takeovers. I really need to sit down and list them out one time because there are still so few of them I could do it.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a top 5 for me. So let's roll down the card here. Let's start with the opener. The War Raiders defending the NXT Tag Team Championships against Aleister Black and Ricochet. Win in 21 minutes and 10 seconds. Your typical NXT Takeover, hot as hell tag team match opener.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch NXT, you learn to embrace tag team wrestling, and then you watch WWE, and then you go, "Why the hell can't this happen here?"
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's more so that the NXT, especially when you're doing takeovers, tag team wrestling is something that takes time. Like it's got a slower build than traditional one-on-one wrestling. So you kind of need that time, and you don't get that kind of time in a WWE show or even a WWE pay-per-view. But yeah, it always seems that NXT just has a great tag team match. And I mean, the talent that you have in there, I mean, Aleister Black, Ricochet, obviously incredibly talented. I've never been a huge War Raiders fan, but I mean, they more than held their own in the match and just put together something really enjoyable.
Yeah. I think when we talked about this match last week, I said, it's a huge kind of style clash because you got flippy guy, kick guy, and 2 big hosses. And that was my biggest kind of concern about it, even though I knew they would pull it off. And of course they did. So they didn't try to blend the styles together or have War Raiders kind of pull anything out to counteract them or anything. They let that be the story of the match. And I think that's what worked so well, is that you got the 2 contrasting sides of things. And of course, the big ass guys are going to win.
Yeah.
And it worked. And it was just, like I said, typical 4-star NXT Takeover tag team opener. Yeah. All right.
Yep.
Yeah. Not much to say about it. It feels like it was a long time ago. Which I guess it was
2 matches ago.
Yeah. The Velveteen Dream retains his NXT North American Championship, defeating Matt Riddle in 17 minutes and 35 seconds. I don't know what else to say about it other than it was Dream and Riddle, so of course it was probably, I would say it was the second weakest match on the show.
Yeah. And I mean, it doesn't mean that it was bad. It was just
right. No, nothing on a takeover has ever been bad, right?
Not in recent memory.
No, nothing that comes to mind, right? No stingers, which is a theme of this weekend. Nothing was bad, which is nice.
Yeah.
But it's Dream and Riddle, so you got Riddle doing his whole gimmick, and Dream being Dream, coming out as the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
Which I loved. Of course, if anyone in NXT deserves the big gimmicked entrance, like it's him. He's the only one it really works for in NXT right now, right? Unless you had like Bugenhagen come out like playing the drums as they roll him down. Dream's the only one that fits that level right now in NXT.
Yeah. And it just makes me excited for next year's WrestleMania, where Dream should at least be on that card and be able to see his entrance. His WrestleMania entrance is going to be off the chart.
They just light purple smoke bombs all over Tampa. Is it Tampa or Tampa Bay?
Tampa is the city.
Right.
Tampa Bay is like the area.
Okay. I've been there enough in my life. I should know the answer to that question. But usually when I'm there, I'm real drunk for several days in a row.
Tampa Bay almost kind of pulls in, I think, the St. Petersburg area as well.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. You're right. Makes sense. Walter. upends the 685-day, I think it was 80, whatever, it doesn't matter at this point. The 685-day United Kingdom Championship reign of Pete Dunne in 25 minutes and 40 seconds. This match was everything I love about wrestling.
Yeah.
This was beautiful European, British indie wrestling on a WWE show. And it spoke to my soul. This is how I wanted to start the weekend off, and it was given to me.
Yeah, I mean, we had an expectation going into the match, and it was given to us. I mean, it lived up to its reputation and then a little bit more.
Yeah. Walter is just, he doesn't have to do anything. It's just because of his physical presence and the way he carries that presence. He's just such an imposing human without having that feeling of being a heel, because he wasn't in this situation. And he's not even posturing that way on Twitter right now. He was actually tweeting about basically what I just said earlier. Like, that was European wrestling. Pete and I did that. Kudos to him. So I'm interested to see who Pete Dunne's next challenger is. I'm sorry, who Walter's next challenger is. If we're going straight back to Dunne, which I assume maybe at the next tapings we do a rematch. But who we're going to put him up against on that roster right now?
I don't know. I haven't been following NXT UK that closely, so I don't know who you necessarily put out there. But I mean, there's no one really on the roster that kind of matches up to him right now.
No, I'd kind of like for a Walter Joseph Connors feud. That'd be kind of cool. I could get behind that.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll see where it goes.
Well, I'm not
Walter
seeing
Wolfgang
Walter
would be cool too.
I'm not seeing Walter as being a transitional champion by any means, so I don't really think it matters at this point.
Yeah, we got time.
And if anything, kind of put somebody that's gonna, I guess, make him, continue to make him look strong. I mean, not necessarily squash matches or anything like that, but somebody who's going to go out there and be a challenger, but you're not really going to expect him to actually beat Walter at this point.
Yeah. In what I would consider the weakest match on this card, the Fatal 4-Way match for the Women's Championship, Shayna Baszler retains, much to the shock of everyone, I think, against Io Shirai, Bianca Belair, and Kairi Sane. 15 minutes, 45 seconds. It was a match. It wasn't a bad match. It was there. That's kind of how I felt about it. I'm glad Shayna won. I wasn't upset at that decision, especially because she won without Marina and Jessamine even being a factor.
All right,
like we've kind of rebuilt her into it kind of rebuilds her into a killing machine again. Whereas so much recently she hasn't looked like that. She looked like she has to rely on her people.
And I mean, I think realistically too, like, Baszler's the best one to hold on to the belt if she's not being moved up to the main level. And I mean, WWE as it is kind of has an issue with their women's division in that they have those couple of women that are at the top, and then everybody else is kind of falling to a second tier.
Yeah.
So to introduce someone like Baszler kind of just stick somebody else in that second tier, at least initially, unless she's going to steamroll, Becky and Charlotte, which isn't going to happen.
No.
So
do you think holding her back with that title? Because I feel like Shayna's ready. Shayna could make the jump and fit in well on the main roster. So I'm going to say holding her back. They're holding her back in order to let Jessamine and Marina kind of cook a little bit more in order to bring all three of them up at the same time.
I mean, it's possible, but I think it's more of a case of Baszler. I don't think they really know what they want to do with the women's division 3 months from now.
Right.
Like, they don't have a set plan right now. They've got both titles on Becky as of right now.
Spoilers, Tom.
Sorry. So both belts are on Becky right now. Obviously, Charlotte's there as well. Ronda's not going to be around.
Nope. She broke her hand.
So we've got two main women, and then you've got kind of that second tier. And I think it's just depending how things shuffle out, whether or not they're going to split belts. All right, I started to choke after I said that. Whether they're going to split the belts again or just have one women's champion, figure out how they're going to. I mean, they're going to have the superstar shakeup soon enough. So I think there's a lot that needs to be kind of figured out at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So in the meantime, it's good to have Shayna Baszler just hang tight, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah. And there have been some kind of major changes to the NXT women's division at the tapings tonight. No title changes. I will say that. So I think it kind of gives us an idea of what may happen next week at the Superstar Shakeup. So if that's something you are interested in, go find it online. I'm not going to spoil it here. But yeah, I think the top picture in NXT, aside from Shayna, looks a little bit different going forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've not spoiled it for myself yet, but
no, yeah, I don't want to spoil it for you. I know you probably don't care, but we can talk about it offline. But you know, yeah, it's nothing major, but it changes the landscape of the NXT women's division.
Okay.
Johnny Gargano finally captures gold. The childhood dream, the boyhood dream, becomes reality as he defeats Adam Cole 2-1 in a 2 out of 3 falls match, 38 minutes, 25 seconds. Of course, the third fall saw the interference of the rest of the Undisputed Era, which we knew was going to happen because, of course.
Because they're heels.
God damn it.
Sorry, I can't do a cornet. I can't.
No one can.
Oh, you do yours.
But every Cornette impression is, let's just talk in a really high voice.
Yeah, I can't do that in general.
It doesn't sound like Cornette.
No.
But it's getting the spirit of him across. Double cheese! I've got to watch the Dairy Queen video when we get done here. Mostly just to hear Jericho laughing in the background. This may be one of my top 3 NXT matches of all time.
I don't know if I'd put it in top 3, but it's strong. It's extremely strong.
Yeah. It was great. It's one of the things that was so long ago, and when I'm watching, I'm not taking huge notes, right? Because I'm trying to watch and enjoy. But it was just, I don't know, it felt like a love letter to professional wrestling. Like,
and if two people are going to pull it off, it's going to be those two.
Oh yeah. It was just, and it was so good to see Johnny finally reach this level. I wish it would have been against Ciampa, right? I mean, that's what we were craving, right? And we knew it was going to happen. If this match was Ciampa and Gargano, Gargano was winning, and they were going to reconcile. Right. So I think the final shot we see when the lower third comes up and Ciampa comes out and the three of them, including Candice, embrace. I think that was the final shot, no matter what.
Right. Yeah.
So it feels like it's missing something because we still don't have the conclusion of that. I'm happy it ended that way. But the match and that kind of feel disjointed to me. But I don't know. I don't care. Johnny Wrestling won, and I was thrilled. And I didn't. This is a takeover where I did not shatter a pint glass on the floor.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was. I don't really have that much to add to it, and want to keep things rolling as well. But just an incredibly well done match.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, you should go out of your way to see it, to dedicate 40 minutes of time and actually just watch it step for step.
And it's a 2 out of 3 falls match that, of course, went 2-1, but I didn't even care. Like, usually the last few of these have been like, of course it's going to go 1-1 and then 2-1. You know, I didn't even care that they of course went the route that booking would, that logic would tell you to go in the store telling a story. It was perfect.
I was looking at some old results a little while back or whatever, like 70s, 80s, that type of thing. And you'd see best out of 3 falls matches and somebody would win 2-0.
That's the best.
It's like, do that every once in a while. Because when that first fall happens, you just wait for the second fall to be the other person. You know it's going to happen. You're just waiting for it.
Right.
So I think it'd be nice to mix it up every once in a while and just throw that second fall in there. Yeah. I mean, you're still making the opponent look good. It's not like you're squashing 2 falls, but
right. So we're going to kind of insert pen mail into the show as we talk about things tonight. So I have one that's directly relating to NXT. One pen mail.
I'm not doing the song because we're doing multiple pen mails and we're putting them.
Did you figure out I wanted you to do it every time immediately? Just give us the first one. I won't ask again. Gotta have at least one.
Pen mail. Pen mail. Pen mail.
Beautiful. For everybody, Seth, at Tweets from Seth on the Twitter. If NXT Live on Wednesdays after TakeOver were a thing, not one, but could you watch? Hashtag burnout. So if they did NXT, I think the question he's asking is, so Wednesday after TakeOver they go back to Full Sail every time, like they did as we record this. They're at Full Sail right now,
right? And
do the next set of tapings. Could you watch it, or would you be burnt out if it was live?
Oh, so they do so you have
TakeOver on Friday or Saturday, wherever it falls, depending on the
TakeOver, main pay-per-view, Raw, SmackDown, and then live NXT.
A special live NXT, right? Could you watch it? Yes, it's only an hour, and it's NXT. Yeah. It's an hour, and it's NXT. Mania week, I don't know if I could.
I think that's the key.
What I would say on, Rumble, any of the other weeks, Rumble, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, where the big 4 line up. I probably would. I mean,
I think it depends on if you're doing it Full Sail and you're not doing it, say, at Barclay or wherever it happens to be. Because I think that specific crowd gets to be different, and we'll discuss this later, potentially, time permitting. But that weekend crowd, kind of when it gets to that Raw and that SmackDown, just becomes a different crowd that isn't necessarily the most encouraging to.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'll tell you, and I think I even tweeted this through our account last night during SmackDown, right? Like, I just did not care. I was watching it because I have to for this show, and because I enjoy it, but I was not actively engaged with the product. It was just on. I was just absorbing it. So, like, Mania week would be hard, but I don't know. I feel like I could the rest of the time.
Yeah,
and of course, if it happened after Mania week, of course I would do it, like, because I'm a freaking masochist.
From a physical standpoint, it would be a little bit difficult just from exhaustion, but
right, especially if they're like 2 hours live, I'd be like, no, I'd hate watch it.
But I think anytime that you get an opportunity to watch like NXT live in general, it's
Yeah.
worth checking out.
Yes. So also Friday night, I'm going to be real quick with this, was one of the main indie shows I watched, Joey Janela's Spring Break 3 Part 1, because it was 2 nights this year. Here are my highlights from that show very quickly. 1, Marco Stunt is back. Yay. He's not injured anymore. 2, Joey Janela is back. Yay.
He too, not injured.
Right. Point 3, Jungle Boy is back.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, he was back. He was kind of all over the place this weekend. That was great. He had a great scramble. I think it was a 5-person scramble match with all kind of cruiserweight types like him. So it was very good. Here were the 2 highlight matches I saw. Number 1 was Ethan Page fighting for his soul against Starman. Starman, who turned out to be Virgil and won in 3 seconds, and then unmasked to be Virgil. Starman was a guy wearing a one-piece pink bodysuit and unlaced or untied Timbs. It's exactly as ridiculous as it sounds. Match number 2, and maybe my favorite match of the weekend. And I'm gonna tell you who was in this match, and you'll immediately understand what happened. It was the Invisible Man versus Invisible Stan. So basically, for 7 minutes and 19 seconds, we watched a referee sell a match. And an entire crowd sell a match. They did the yay boo spot. It was I don't know if you can find this match at some point. It's on Fight right now. Watch it because it's hilarious. Like, it was the highest form of this art I think I've ever seen. And just, like, the highest form of suspension of disbelief I've ever seen in my entire life. And somewhere, Cornette had a freaking aneurysm.
I mean, we get on quote-unquote smart crowds all the time, but good to have one here.
Yeah. The show ended with a death match between Takeda and Jimmy Lloyd from GCW. This was the first of many death matches I watched this weekend. I've hit my freaking death match quota. I get no pleasure out of it, and I only watch these matches once a year because they always happen during Mania weekend. And I feel like I'm obligated because it's part of our sport. But I don't feel like it should be part of our sport. And that's just my opinion. People enjoy deathmatch wrestling. It's just not for me. So let's move on to Saturday. Let's start with the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I haven't seen much of the Hall of Fame yet. Let's start with the one part I have seen, which was DX's induction. Which was perfect. It was everything I wanted from DX. They went out there and they goofed off and they did the DX bit for 30 minutes. Hunter made fun of Sean's googly eye. They made fun of X-Pac for 30 minutes. Billy Gunn had a squirt gun that barely went off, and Hunter told him, that's all right, it happens at our age. They brought out the podium. They did all the catchphrases. They had glow sticks. They came out on a Humvee. Perfect.
I mean, it's exactly what you expected.
Yeah,
so.
That's all I wanted. Earlier in the night, though, maybe the most unexpected moment from a Hall of Fame ever. So to kind of start, they did a different setup this year. They had the podium.
Yeah.
So they, since they were set up from TakeOver the night before, they didn't move the ring or anything. They took the ropes off that face hard camera, put some steps in front, got rid of the barriers. So all the floor seating was down there. That was, of course, where the talent and their families and invited people were. But everyone still kind of entered down the ramp, walked down, and then walked up the front into the ring, which I thought was a cool looking setup. That was, yeah, you know what? It felt kind of cool to have them in the ring doing their Hall of Fame speech.
I don't know. It made it seem a little. It seemed like a step backwards.
The ropes were gold, Tom.
Well, yeah, but it just came off as like, every other schlub's Hall of Fame type thing.
Oh, see, I don't know. I really liked it. But here's why it will never be set up this way again. So Brett and Natty are behind the podium doing their induction of the Hart Foundation. In some POS, because I'm going to still try not to curse, even though this makes me want to just scream obscenities, decides to run from wherever he was sitting, through all the talent, into the ring, and he tackles Brett, is immediately descended on by the talent, most notably Ronda Rousey's husband, former UFC talent Travis Brown, who proceeds to punch the man in the face repeatedly until Davey Boy Smith gets there and does the same thing. They drag him out. Dash Wilder then gets a very nice shot at him as they carry this guy away, and they cart him out. Brett and Natty get up. They finish their speech. Brett is taken to the hospital after, because apparently he might have hurt his hip in the fall, because Brett's not a spring chicken, and he's been through a lot in the last several years.
Plus,
yeah.
I was going to say, it's a precautionary thing, too. When you're 61, you get tackled by somebody. Right. Go just check it out.
Yeah, well, and especially you've got someone who suffered, multiple strokes already, and they take an impact. Yeah, that's not going to be good. There's a risk there, a very high risk. Number one, F this guy. I just can't, it was so it happened, and I was so angry. I was furious for hours. Okay, this guy, once his name was released, and I'm not going to say it here because he doesn't deserve any fame. His name is released. People then, of course, found his Twitter account because it's 2019. The dude is back crap crazy because he keeps tweeting at Vince for several days leading up to it about I'm going to show up at Mania and show you what I can do, and I'm so glad for this opportunity, and women shouldn't main event WrestleMania. They should be in the kitchen where they belong. Stuff like that. I'm like, all right, this dude's freaking psycho, including one rant where he's tweeting Triple H and to get him at the Performance Center and then tweeting him about, why aren't you tweeting me back? But holy crap. This happened. This really happened.
It shocked me that he got in the ring. Was able to get to the ring.
Yeah. I guess it's one of those things, if he's sprinting from the crowd, so here's my take on it too, right? So the seating on the floor, there is fan seating on the floor. I think if you buy some of the travel packages and stuff that they offer, there is floor seating that is available. So I don't know if he had one of those seats or if he came down from one of the lower bowl sections or what. But I feel like because of that fact that you can get to that area very easily, security was probably not as tight too, especially since it's the Hall of Fame, right? The guy, no one's working. So, and if he's got a full set of steam and he's coming from the floor and he just kind of runs up, I don't know how quickly you react to that, because you're like, what is that? And especially you don't know if it's, if you look at the security, and I think someone said they asked a security guard about it and they were like, they didn't know if it was part of the show.
Yeah.
Again, kudos to everyone sitting around the ring who works for WWE and Travis, who immediately jumped in the ring and gave this guy exactly what he deserved. Kudos to the New Day for hopping in the ring and pulling Brett and Natty aside and making sure they were okay. But yeah, it's one of those moments that will always kind of be in my head, especially every year when the Hall of Fame comes around. Be like, remember that time that crazy guy tackled Brett?
Yeah. And I think back to, I think the most, I don't know if it was the most recent, but the last time something like that happened and stuck in my mind was WCW Nitro, I guess it was. And it was Dean Malenko and I think Psychosis wrestling in, just regular match. And somebody and WCW crowds at the time were, well, both big guys crowds, but guy just decides to jump in the ring. Now, I don't know what he never got a chance to actually approach anyone, so nobody was really sure what he wanted to do, and he I think he may have tripped on the ring rope as he was like getting in, or maybe like some security person saw him and kind of like held him back a little bit, so he kind of got in the ring but was on all fours as he got in the ring. And Mark Curtis, all 120 pounds of him, choked him out.
Ha. Good.
I mean, mounted him and just completely immobilized him. Now, I mean, our younger listeners may not realize who Mark Curtis is. Mark Curtis was a referee with WCW who passed away, I think 98, 99, something like that. But he was in the business. He was wrestled occasionally for Smoky Mountain, but was mainly a referee with Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Got hired WCW, worked there. Mark Hildebrand was his actual name, and he was a smaller guy. But you gotta understand, wrestlers, referees, all these people, they're trained, and a lot of the guys, especially the more old school you are, not only are you trained to wrestle to put on a performance, but you were always trained to shoot if you needed to. Because especially in the old days, you were trained that there were going to be these jerks that would potentially come out of the crowd and challenge you, or challenge you in a bar or something like that. And if you got into a bar fight or something and you couldn't hold your own, you were useless as talent, because, that's the guy, wrestler, I kicked his ass in the bar last night.
You were out of the territory if that happened.
Yep. And good luck getting booked somewhere else, even after the fact. So all these guys learned how to be able to defend themselves and take out somebody if they needed to. And that was the first thing I thought of, was this guy got into the ring, attacked Brett because Brett didn't see him. Like, I'm curious if Brett had noticed him coming, what would have happened. I mean, again, like you said, he's 61. He's had a stroke. He's not in great physical shape. I mean, just in general. If he was a healthy 61-year-old guy, he wouldn't be in the best of shape or whatever.
Right. Well, if you watch the video, like, I guess they can hear the guy get in the ring, because he and Natty both look over before the guy ever makes it to him.
And again, you're not sure what the hell's going on.
Right.
Like, is this a thing? Is
Vince trying to shoot an angle here?
I think if I'm in the ring and I'm doing a presentation or something like that, somebody does that, I am kind of looking at it and going, almost like looking at security going, you guys going to do something?
Yeah.
If nobody's doing anything, and, it must be a thing. And then,
right. I mean, the biggest concern I saw, this crazy guy gets in the ring. No one knows. You don't know if he has any kind of weapon on him either, right?
Yeah.
A knife or anything that he hid and got in. Like, it terrifying. But Brett's okay. Natty's okay. The boys did good. And
apparently there is a mugshot photo out there.
Oh, yes.
And you can see how good the boy is.
That guy's face is ground beef. That's what happens when you get beat up by Davey Boy Smith Jr., former UFC fighter Travis Brown. Oh, yeah, and Dash Wilder, who knocked the guy unconscious and appeared.
Yeah, he dropped after Dash did that shot.
So my favorite part of that video is Dash gets that punch in, and then he just walks away, like, all proud.
It was almost like a little bit of, like, suit adjustment. Like, okay.
Also, I don't know. I know we shared this in our text thread, but I don't know if anyone else saw this. If you go to Zack Ryder's Instagram account, he posted a picture of him and Brett and was like, finally, after all these years, I get my picture with Brett. And then you see Scott Dawson commenting on it. He's like, don't touch him.
Yeah, I laughed at that.
I was like, funny, not funny. All right. So, at the same time this was going on was the Ring of Honor New Japan G1 Supercard at Madison Square Garden. How much of this did you see? Because I only saw the final 2 matches because of the Hall of Fame.
I only ended up watching the 30-man Honor Rumble.
Okay.
Which I marked out like a small child for.
Until the end.
Because heels. But yes. I got legitimately mad.
Well, yeah, like... All right, go ahead and talk about it, then I can get mad about this too. Because I didn't watch it, but I saw it happening on Twitter in real time, and I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, I'll just kind of roll real quick through, because it had some good moments, because, again, the New Japan Rumble was taken out of the January 4th show, which was one of the goofy things that I appreciated, mainly because they would bring out, it was half talent and half guys that were, had been retired for 15 years and shoot fighters from like UWFI and all.
It's their version of the WrestleMania 17 gimmick battle royal, but every year.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's fun, you see these guys, they do spots, and I think it's kind of cool in that their type of rumble that they do, you can throw somebody over the top rope, but you can also pin somebody. So what ends up happening, like usually some real big dude ends up getting in the ring and like beating up a bunch of people and making a bunch of eliminations. Then the rest of the group finally figures it out and like they knock him down somehow, and then like 7 guys jump on top of him for a pinfall.
And cheeseburger.
And cheeseburger, yeah. Okay, so you have this Honor Rumble, and they've got various people coming out, and Liger comes out. And people mark out for Liger because Liger's wrestling in Madison Square Garden.
Oh yeah.
And I don't remember all the people that actually.
I can tell you.
Quick.
I got it right here.
Yeah, I mean,
so
Minoru Suzuki's in there. Cheeseburger is in there.
You skipped the first entrant.
I'm ignoring him for the time being. I mean, Taguchi's there. Chase Owens is there, so I marked out a little bit for that.
Your boy Toru Yano.
Pretty much half the people that were on the New Japan show that I went to from Ring of Honor were there.
Right.
Guys like Jonathan Gresham.
It's like the entire New Japan mid-card.
Yeah. There was a cool spot where Toru Yano gets announced, and he comes out, with his stuff, his curry and everything like that. It takes about 10 steps down, then he stops, and then he runs to the commentary table where Kevin Kelly and I guess Chris Charlton or somebody else and Colt Cabana are doing commentary, and Toru Yano convinces Colt Cabana to take his spot. So Colt ends up going into the Honor Rumble, and Toru starts doing commentary. So that thoroughly entertained me because I love Toru Yano.
Who doesn't?
Entrant number 29 was Haku.
Awesome.
So somebody was going to get murdered,
and then
at 30,
oh boy,
the Great Muta comes out.
So I see that tweet and I lost my mind.
I screamed because I mean, I love Muta. Muta's 56 years old, man. But he's still got it.
He's one of the all-time legends of the sport.
I mean, you got to figure, I was young. Muta, I think, came over to not even WCW. Muta came over to NWA Wrestling,
wow,
Crockett's promotion, in 87. And he was just this introduction to Japanese wrestling. And it wasn't like, because you had other Japanese guys that were just giant, goofy stereotypes that, like Mr. Fuji types and Althor Salt in the corner and that type of thing. And Muta came out, and he was managed by Gary Hart. And I love Gary Hart. And Gary Hart just put this like aura of like unpredictability with Muta. And he came out, he did this, he did all the kung fu type stuff. It's like, all right, that's kind of cool or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, you had Muta. It was just Muta being able to wrestle in Madison Square Garden, and just growing up having watched him and just having him introduce like New Japan or just Japanese wrestling in general to me. And everything from the green mist to the moonsaults to just the handspring, flying elbows in the corner and the quick elbow drops. It was awesome. And just being able to see him and Liger in the middle of the ring, I think the crowd was into it. I was into it. Everybody kind of wanted to see it. And then they had to put over Kenny King because he's a heel.
This entire show seemed like it was terrible, and that seemed to be the general consensus online. It was the tale of two shows. It was Ring of Honor doing Ring of Honor stuff and New Japan doing good stuff.
Yeah.
Except for this match where Ring of Honor was like, well, this is our show. Screw you.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it came out to be. It was just like, all right, well, we'll have you guys get the spotlight so people pay attention, but God damn it, we're putting our guys over.
Yeah. Ugh, Kenny King. So for the sake of brevity, I saw the three-way ladder match for the Ring of Honor World Championship where Matt Taven won, much to the dismay of, I don't know, every human being on the planet. Cool. And then the Okada Jay White match where Okada regained his IWGP Heavyweight Championship for the 5th time. That match was there. Like, it was cool that it was Okada in Madison Square Garden, but it felt like it was just a match.
Yeah, I'm going to go back and actually watch it and see, but
it was fine. It was cool. Seeing Okada finally like beat up Geto a little bit was cool.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it was just, I don't know. It just, something felt weird about it.
The whole Jay White push in general has been weird.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I think maybe the American crowd, too, felt weird. Because hearing people chant F-U Gato, F-U J, like, it was just, it felt weird. I don't know.
Yeah,
having a "This is awesome" chant during a New Japan match, just it was. Like, I don't understand. Like, it was, and I'm not complaining about those chants. Like, do your thing. You're not, they were all within the context of the match. We're not just random. People aren't randomly chanting things. But I don't know. And like I said, the match itself was there. It was okay.
I mean, we've got Jay White, and it's just not working, I think, at this point. I mean, it is to an extent. I mean, it kind of works in Japan, but I mean, just as a different crowd and how they work off of that, it just kind of makes it. I think it's time to just kind of move on and work off of something else. I mean, the belt's on Okada, then it kind of belongs there. So
yeah, but who do you move on to? Naito? Like, I just want something. I want something fresh from New Japan, and I don't know what the answer is. Jay White was the fresh option, and coming out of Tokyo Dome, I was like, all right, cool. I think we're headed in the right direction with him.
But Jay seemed like an over push. I mean, enough people were going, well, Jay's just taking Kenny Omega's spot.
Right. Yeah.
But, I don't know. Do you push Ospreay full time? I mean, he just dropped the never open weight to Jeff Cobb. Like,
Yeah, I don't
weight
know.
division, which would be fun, but do you have somebody like Zack Sabre Jr., who they seem to be pushing decently hard?
Maybe. I don't know.
I
Anyway,
think you do not. Yeah.
fold the promotion. That's what I say. All right.
Ring of Honor? Okay.
Yeah, right. Please. So that was G1 Supercard. So let's talk about what happened after that, which you haven't watched, but that was Joey Janela's Spring Break Part 2. 4 matches on the show that went 3 hours. Most notably, LAX defeating the Rock and Roll Express.
The Rock and Roll Express.
Yeah, I got to watch them in 2019, which just makes my heart sing. And yeah, they're a little slower and they're old, but it's still the Rock and Roll Express. And like their passion and energy is still there. It's just cool to watch. That was followed by LA Park and Masato Tanaka, which was also 2 old guys. And I didn't care because it was awesome. Which was then followed by it was 60-some entrant, the Cluster F Battle Royal, which ended in a no contest because all the women came out and like laid everyone out and then brought Joey Janela's limp body out because he's such a chauvinist.
All right.
It was kind of cool. It was a cool moment because you had a bunch of great indie women out there. So, attack. It was a cool statement. It was a cool statement within the full concept of the weekend and the fact that, the next day we're getting the first ever women's main event. So it felt like a continuation of the WWE story. Like the women are rising. The next day, I'd like to call attention to the next day when Orange Cassidy is doing something or whatever. Who knows was a show. Which included a best 7 out of 13 falls match that I watched. Which went 13 falls, of course.
Of course it did.
Including 2 via DQ. There was a 1-minute time limit match where Trent beat Chuck Taylor in overtime. Those were kind of my highlights.
So disappointed. I was talking to somebody, I think it was at the tailgate, and I mentioned Trent Beretta, and I was like, and I mentioned him as Trent.
They didn't understand.
I was talking about. No.
That sucks. Trent? Yeah.
Which is a shame because that means they don't listen to this podcast.
No. So.
Because we make that joke every time.
I just like the fact that there was a 1-minute time limit match. I kind of marked out for that.
That's for millennials. They have no attention span these days, right?
Right. It went 1 minute and 5 seconds. Because the crowd was chanting 5 more seconds. GCW crowds, always great. So let's move on to the main event of the weekend. WrestleMania 35. Which, even though we've already been talking an hour, somehow, we still have this show to go. Oh, God. Here we go. Fortunately, we can probably fly through this one pretty fast. Because, yes, it was 16 matches long. But there's a lot we can go, that was a thing. Now, again, okay, so give me your overall impression of this WrestleMania.
Long Island is very strong.
That's the story of the pre-show. Give me your perception of the entire show.
I mean, good, solid show. I mean, was it outstanding? Not necessarily, and that may have been due to length, but I mean, like, show. Yeah. I would say it would have been a good show to introduce some, like a non necessarily to wrestling, but sit a non-wrestling fan through 5 to 7 hours of...
Yeah. The show is just, it's too long. I think everyone agrees with that.
Yeah.
But it was a solid WrestleMania. I think you could even put it, because of the consistency of the show, and even as long as it was, the pacing of the show was just right. It might fall top 10 for me all time. It was a good show, and it was 7.5 hours long, and I might have been exhausted by the end, but I enjoyed it. Like, it ended, and I was like, I'm glad I spent 7.5 hours watching this. I wish it would have been 5, but and it's Mania. It should be longer. It's our, it's the Super Bowl of our sport.
We knew it going in. I mean,
yeah.
We knew how long the card was going to be. We knew when stuff was planned. We're like, yep, that main event's going to be after midnight. We know.
Yeah. So let's get some pen mail in here about it. Tom.
Not doing the song. We need time. Come on.
All right. So this is a good way to start our discussion here. From our buddy Dan. Top 3 matches and the match or segment that did nothing for you. So top 3 and bottom 1 before we run through the card.
3 of WrestleMania?
Yes.
Not the weekend.
No,
but
we're
the
talking
actual...
just Mania. Yeah.
I think you can't go wrong with. Obviously, number 1 I think is Kofi.
Yep.
Daniel Bryan.
Yep. Top. Number 1 by far.
Oh.
Number 2, at least for me, Shane and Miz.
Okay. I mean, we saw that big spot coming, so
yeah. I don't know. After the Kofi Daniel thing, it's hard for me to put like that's clearly the number 1, but I could shuffle everything else around under it.
I mean, I think as we're going 2 and 3 and that type of thing, it's just take away anything from a couple of the other matches. And I love the Tony Nese Buddy Murphy match.
Great match.
Yeah. I think I'll put as my 3 Seth Rollins, Brock Lesnar, just because of the way that they kind of just put that together in such a short period of time. Like the action to time ratio or whatever.
Yeah.
It really enjoyable.
And the whole kind of story around that of Paul Heyman storming out, like, was cool. So I for 3 for me, kind of goes back and forth between that and Triple H Batista. Because I thought, while Triple H Batista was way too long, it was still very good. If you take 5 minutes off of it, 7 minutes off of it, it's great.
You're just happy because your boy won and doesn't have to retire now.
Well, I mean, yes, that's part of it. But I thought, like, the story was I thought they told a very good story in the ring. Like, they did a good job. Like, that was probably the most entertaining Triple H match at WrestleMania in a while. But yeah, okay. Yeah. Your low point of the evening.
I mean, I didn't necessarily have a true low point. I mean, there were some low moments like in the pre-show battle royals, but I shrugged that off.
Yeah.
I guess my low point technically was Corbin over Angle, and I mean, I get it. We discussed the fact that Angle was going to go out, quote unquote, the right way. Want that to happen?
Yeah. Yeah. Low point for me was Joe Ray.
Yeah.
Like,
I was looking at that.
Why
too.
didn't we just do that on SmackDown? Or like,
Okay.
I know Ray's hurt, right? But it didn't need to be on the show. You could have shaved off 5 minutes there, counting the entrances.
I don't know if it's that they wanted to have a Ray entrance or they wanted to. I don't know. if there's some provision in his contract where Ray needs to be, if Ray says that, he's healthy enough to be in WrestleMania, he has to be at WrestleMania.
Right.
I
Honorable mention for low point of the evening, racist Hulk Hogan appearing and everyone being okay with it.
Yeah.
All right, let's fly through this card here. There will be times to stop, but starting with the pre-show, wouldn't be a pre-show without the Cruiserweight Championship match. We already kind of touched on this. Tony Nese gains his first Cruiserweight Championship, defeating Buddy Murphy in 10:40.
Long Island.
Great Cruiserweight match. Yeah.
With a great rematch on 205 Live afterwards. So.
Ooh, I haven't watched that yet. I did miss some WWE this week. All right.
I'm disappointed.
Second on the pre-show, the uterus trophy was on the line in the Women's Battle Royal. Carmella shockingly won, much to the surprise of, I think, literally everyone in the planet, defeating Sarah Logan in 10 minutes and 30 seconds. Man, I was so happy when I thought Sarah Logan won. I was like, that's an interesting swerve, and I am here for it.
That whole, most of the finish, but again, and kind of foreshadowed earlier by the Ring of Honor card, how shocking they're not eliminated part comes up, but that sucked. But it made Sarah Logan look pretty good, and
it gives me hope for what they want to do with her, because I like her. I liked her as Crazy Mary Dobson. I like her as Sarah Logan. Like, she's good. Like, and a good powerhouse woman like that, it's hard to find.
People got there were some people online that got extremely pissy, why didn't Asuka win? I'm fine with Asuka not winning a battle royal. This isn't a one-on-one competition.
You'd have thought the world ended when all the neckbeards lost their mind. Who cares? Asuka's on a different plane than pretty much every woman on this match. This did nothing to hurt that. Because you know what? No one's going to remember this. Because who won last year?
It's a perfect win for Carmella, because that's the kind of wrestler that Carmella is. She's sneaky and to do, and that's what you do in battle royals. You kind of sneak in and
then she came out Tuesday night,
screw somebody over,
and we didn't even acknowledge it because this doesn't matter. In a match signed late in the week, so we didn't talk about it last week, so I guess it was on Friday is when they announced this. The Raw Tag Team Championships were on the line as Kurt Hawkins snapped his very nice 269 match losing streak with Zack Ryder, taking the tag team titles off the Revival in 1320. Long Island, baby.
More Long Island.
Yeah. The crowd popped huge because Hawkins and Ryder won, and then they go Monday night and retain. I'm down for it. It feels a bit like I won't use the phrase transitional champ, but it feels like when Slater and Rhino had the titles for that period in time. It's just a feel good story.
Yeah.
Yeah. And two guys that they don't utilize very much, but are both absolutely good enough. You can put them in this position for a few months, and no one's gonna be like, "That's not believable," So it's cool.
I saw this being a one-day title. Revival taking the titles back on Monday,
but we're at least getting a week, which is awesome.
Zach's probably like, "Come on, you did this to me once already. Let me get at least a week."
Right? Yeah. Closing out the pre-show, the 30-man Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Braun Strowman, to the surprise of literally no one, won in 10 minutes and 20 seconds by eliminating Saturday Night Live's Colin Jost. Which I thought it was cool that they had them hide under the ring. And I think this was a good, Colin Jost and Michael Che were used well. They went and hid under the ring, and then they popped out. They begged off. They didn't show anybody up. It was just, it worked well.
They didn't kind of claim to be wrestlers. They didn't, although I have to give Colin Jost impressive heel props
for his tights.
Odell Beckham Jr. jersey.
Oh yeah, that too. His
in Giant Stadium.
Yes. And his Braun Strowman face tights with the circle with the line through it.
Yeah.
Funny. While Michael Che wore tights with all of his SNL cast members' face on them. It was funny. It was good for a laugh. Again, it doesn't mean anything. It was fine.
And I think there were a couple of people that were concerned. They're just like, oh, what are these guys? It's WrestleMania. It's the pre-show.
It's their moment to be on TMZ. There you go. I got it.
They're not going to be wrestling for 12 minutes in the ring. They hit like was expected, and then
did
they
you
spent a minute or two
did you see
the angle?
The video they put on WWE.com after, where I guess they had a camera down there with with those two, with Michael Che and Colin Jost. It's them the video of them hiding under the ring. It was entertaining. I was like, all right. So I have no problem with that. The build might have been terrible with them involved, but the actual action was not terrible.
Boogeyman should have been under there.
Oh god, that'd have been hilarious. He like chases them out, or Hornswoggle. But he was in the Battle Royal the night before, the Cluster F. So, he had a hypodermic needle shoved in his head. Deathmatch wrestling.
That happens.
Yeah. All right. Main card. Seth Rollins defeats Brock Lesnar and frees us all from his tyrannical reign as Universal Champion in what bell to bell was 2 minutes and 30 seconds, but we already touched on this and how it happened.
It wasn't 2:30. It was more like probably about 7, 8, 9 minutes.
She had before the bell ever rang, Lesnar beating him down, ragdolling him basically. And Seth, of course, in current 2019 WWE babyface ways, low blows Lesnar, which I'm fine with, because it's nothing that, as he said Monday night, it's nothing that Lesnar wouldn't do in order to get his belt or keep his belt. And we all know Seth's a snaky little dirty boy. So,
well, I don't know, because Daniel Bryan does one low blow and suddenly he becomes bastard.
Let's look at Shinsuke last year. Right? Yeah. Shinsuke and AJ's entire feud was based on I will hit you in nuts. So, whatever. The belt's not on Brock anymore, so I do not care. We get to see we get to see it every week.
And you did the 3 curb stomps, and that put him down.
Yeah,
I like that finish.
Yeah, I thought it was exactly what it needed to be. Next matchup, AJ Styles defeats Randy Orton in 16 minutes and 20 seconds. Even though I think like 50% of MetLife Stadium couldn't see what was happening because the lights were in their face. That's really the story of this match. Was the turn the lights off chance. I wanted more from this match, and I think we talked about this last week. I wanted AJ to push Randy to like the next level. This was a perfectly fine match. You have two masters of technical in-ring work, and it delivered on that level. But that was about it. It was fine. I don't hate it. It was enjoyable. I'm never going to go back and watch it again. But
it was a good main event or semi-main event of like a C-level pay-per-view.
Yeah.
A fast lane match.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine. It was, and again, it was a good match. It was very well worked. It's just a simple, hastily kind of thrown together story that everyone was like, all right, I can get behind this. And then the match happened, and everybody was like, okay, that was fine. AJ may now be hurt coming off of it. He was pulled off of SmackDown last night. So hopefully it's not too bad. Could probably maybe just his back flaring up a bit. But if anyone deserves some time off in this company, he is certainly one of those people. Next up, a fatal 4-way tag team match for the WWE SmackDown Tag Team Championships. In 10 minutes and 10 seconds, the Usos retain against Aleister Black and Ricochet, Rusev and Shinsuke, and The Bar. Ricochet was the superstar of this match.
Realistically, that still was going to be a Black and Ricochet.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think we said last week they retain, right? I think that was both of our prediction there. And you know, it was a good 4-way match. Again, it was good. I didn't hate it. It doesn't stand out. Next year I'll be like, what did those guys do? And I'll look back and be like, oh yeah, that was an okay match. Yeah. Tom?
I got nothing else to say. It was what you said.
Yeah. And like I said,
wait, man, let's
let's
keep it
plow.
rolling.
Yeah, Aleister Black and Ricochet, superstars of that match. Shane McMahon defeats The Miz in a Falls Count Anywhere match, 15 minutes and 30 seconds. The pinfall happens when Miz superplexes Shane off of the rig out in the crowd where the hard camera is. But because of the nature of the move, they hit the ground. They're both unconscious, of course, but because of the way they're going to land when they do that move, Shane has one arm on top of Miz and gets the 3 count. Interesting storytelling there. Enjoyed it. It was great to see Mr. Miz come in and defend his son. It was good to see
a meme.
Yeah, it was great to see fiery babyface Miz, because I think that's the first time we've seen him we've seen him in this babyface role for a while now, but seeing him use that kind of heel energy that he always carries and transfer it into that role was really nice. Gives me a lot more faith in babyface Miz, so it was enjoyable. Again, another good match. Like I said, one of my favorites of the night. I'm upset Shane won, but given what happened Tuesday night, I'm interested to see where it goes. I want to see more heel Shane, more cocky heel Shane, not just McMahon heel Shane. It's a different heel role for him for once. It's kind of cool. Women's Tag Team Championships, 10 minutes and 45 seconds. The Iconics, shockingly, I think the team we gave the least credit to win this, defeated Bayley and Sasha Banks, Nia Jackson, Tamina, and Beth Phoenix and Natalya. That was
pop.
I was so excited because I don't think any of us have ever thought man, they see them as like a real, I think we all thought Vince sees them as a comedy act, and they're very good at that. But we didn't see them as a credible threat at any point in time.
I mean, realistically, if there was ever 2 people to put the tag team belts on in the women's division, it's
perfect. Them. It's so good.
Team there.
Yeah. And it's the one legit tag team, right? I mean, you could build Nia Jackson Tamina to be that. But they're the only other ones I can think of, right?
I mean, there are other people that are friends and that type of thing. I mean, when you put together, I mean that's technically a friendship and a connection there, but they're not just
yeah, so good. I'm so happy for them. And you could tell how emotional they were when they won too. That they realized their dream. Because neither of them had, any huge success in NXT at that level. So very happy for the Australian
I think Peyton had a push for a little while and she just got fed to Asuka.
Yeah, she was in a fatal, the closest she ever got to that, she was in a fatal 4 match for the women's title at Takeover. Because I remember that, I was like, I hope she wins. And she didn't. I was sad. Biggest moment of the night. Match number 10. Kofi Kingston defeats the new Daniel Bryan and becomes the new WWE champion. I cried. I'm going to be honest. I was so happy for Kofi. And I was...
It was the ideal build. And it's funny it came out of nowhere almost by accident. And you had something like you had the parallels with this and Daniel Bryan's WrestleMania 30 run.
Mm-hmm.
But Bryan's run was so built for so long. It was the slow build there.
Yeah. Everyone wants to claim that was the voice of the fans. It was not. It was all... I'm firmly convinced to this day that is their thing to say, to be like, to be able to make people think like the WWE universe matters, your opinions matter. No, they don't. They were planning that the entire time.
It makes you wonder what they would have done had gotten hurt.
Yeah, that's the real question, right? Does Ali reach this height here? Would we? I also would not have been mad at that. That would have been cool. That would have been cool as hell too.
I don't think you put the belt on him, though.
You could, and I'd believe it and not hate it for a second.
I mean, I could see building him up to like a U.S. champion and then kind of working your way through that, but I don't know. I don't think he takes that same path.
I don't know.
Works as a good kind of scrappy underdog.
I look at it as, okay, this is the Mania where we're putting women first, right, in the main event. And it sounds really terrible. But you know, part of their thought process around Ali would have been, we can have a Muslim champion.
Yeah.
And again, not like he doesn't deserve it. I don't want to take anything away from him because he's an incredible talent. He's going to be there one day. Of his own accord, right? His heritage and his religion notwithstanding, he can get to that level. Part of me thinks WWE definitely thought like, we can have a Muslim champion and take him to Saudi Arabia with us.
Oh.
So, I don't know. But I'm so happy for Kofi, and I was so happy to see how happy Big E and Xavier were. Like, their move to tears, especially the moment when they reveal the traditional WWE Championship belt, and you see right before he pulls the cloth off of it, like, Xavier basically in tears. Kofi brings his kids into the ring. That was WrestleMania. Like, that's what you want from WrestleMania.
I kind of dug the fact that it was early enough in the extremely long card. The younger fans would have gotten a chance to see it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't remember what time technically that match took place, but because theoretically that match is a semi-main event.
Right.
Putting the women in the main event. So the WWE Championship should be like a semi-main.
Mm-hmm.
But you end up putting it where you do.
Well, you have to put it there because you know the
and
crowd's
the card works.
Yeah, because the crowd's going to be so emotionally spent after that, you got to rebuild them back up. So, again, that goes back to the comment I had earlier. The pacing on this show was wonderful.
To do that, to throw the Lesnar match as the opener.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of creativity done in booking this card.
Yeah. To go into it knowing we've got 16 matches and we're going to make this last 7.5 hours. This is the best possible order. They nailed it. I was also really touched by seeing all the videos online, on Twitter, YouTube, everywhere, of fans of color just being moved. Like that. representation is so huge, especially in something that is as global as this.
I think there was footage of like Shea and MVP. I think.
Yeah. Like it's
two guys that aren't WWE superstars anymore. But I mean, both of them wrestled at the time that Kofi was wrestling on the. They wrestled with Kofi. They know Kofi. So. Yeah, it's hard to realize how long Kofi's been on the WWE roster.
11 years. It's a long time. But yeah, not being a white cis straight male. Like, representation is not a huge issue for me in much of anything in my life.
No.
But to see what it means to others, it's one of those things you're like, I don't understand what that means on a personal level because, again, I'm represented everywhere. But, like, I understand. And I can see it. Like, it's one of those moments where you go, I get it. And, like, I can't feel anything but joy, like, for that. So, and it opens so many doors and it opens, future opportunity for so many kids who can see that and be like, I can do that now. Kofi can be the inspiration to the next generation. He did it. I can do that. It's such a, yeah. It means so much. We already talked about this a little bit. In 1 minute, Samoa Joe beats Rey Mysterio, retains his U.S. championship. Cool. Whatever. It happened. Roman Reigns defeats Drew McIntyre in 10 minutes and 10 seconds. Cool. This match, maybe this is my low point, because I wanted so much more from this match, and it just felt flat. And it could have been still recovering from the emotional drain of the Kofi match, because there still really was no buffer between that and this match, because the Samoa Joe Rey match was 1 minute. Great to see Roman. Great to see Roman win. Very happy for him. He wasn't on TV this week, which I thought was weird.
A little rest. I mean, he's probably not completely to 100% at this point.
Yeah. I also saw the point made online a lot, too. Like, even though it's Roman, coming back from this, and, he's pretty much universally loved, at this point, because everyone understands his struggle. Do you really walk him out in front of the Raw After Mania crowd in Brooklyn and risk it? And I was like, that's a real good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, bring him back when you go to Corpus Christi and it's dead silent. Triple H keeps his career defeating Batista, who is now officially retired from sports entertainment, in the longest match of the evening. Because, of course, it's a Triple H match. 24 minutes, 45 seconds. Like I said, I enjoyed this match. I thought it was, again, shave 5-7 minutes off of this. It's an all-time classic.
Yeah.
But it was still very good.
Yeah.
Triple H clearly watching all the GCW shows, ripping Batista's nose ring out with a pair of pliers. Which was cool. I miss sadistic Triple H. That's my favorite. Especially when he starts doing that and Corey Graves yells, "That's our boss!" Yeah, it was a good match. I enjoyed it. Batista looked great, I thought. For having been away for, 4 years now? Coming back, something like that? So
more than that, I think.
Maybe 5. Or no, I guess it would have been after 30, right? Was it right after 30 when the Shield split up that summer after 30? Yeah, it would have been, because 31 is when Seth cashed in. Yeah, so it's been 5 years. 6 years almost. Wow. All right. We got the machine gun pyro. I didn't care. Baron Corbin defeats Kurt Angle, ending his career, 6 minutes and 5 seconds. I called this one.
Yeah.
Kurt did the right thing. But then Monday night, Kurt at least hits him with an ankle slam. So, cool. I was like, that's how you do it, right? Kurt loses, Kurt still gets one up. I wish Kurt would have just left the ring Sunday night and not cut a promo after and save that for Monday. Because he kind of lost and then just like popped up and was like, hey, Chant, you suck at me again. And I was like, all right, that's weird. I wanted that moment to be his last.
Yeah.
I marked the hell out because Finn Balor beat Bobby Lashley in 4 minutes and 5 seconds to capture the Intercontinental Championship. He was the Demon. The entrance was great. Should have only been 1 minute and 5 seconds because we talked about this last week too. Should have been a squash with the Demon. I think they let Lashley get too much offense in, but Finn still looked real strong, making that slam happen.
Yeah.
So that was the story there. Is it with the Demon he can do that? And I'm like, that kind of redeemed it in my eyes. Like, all right, he can hit him with a power bomb, which is still, you look at a guy like Balor versus a guy like Bobby, like that's real good. Even though I know he's helping you, that's still you're a real strong little boy. And then in our main event, Becky Lynch, the man, captures both championships. They're all in SmackDown in a triple threat match, beating Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair. Pinning Ronda Rousey under controversial circumstances, question mark? That we didn't discuss Monday night, question mark? Or Tuesday?
Oopsie.
Yeah, so the reports I saw said that, yeah, that was supposed to be... So as first when it happens, basically the way the finish happens is Becky ends up just rolling up Ronda in a crucifix, 1, 2, 3, the end. I think that finish, even if it goes off correctly, still kind of weak.
Yeah.
Right? I think as fans, I think we wanted that cathartic moment of Becky submitting Ronda, right? Because the pin was always going to be on Ronda. To roll her up in a crucifix feels really indecisive. Like they didn't fully commit to like, well, we want her to pin Ronda, but we can't make her... We don't want her to lose much here. I don't think Ronda Rousey loses anything if you have her tap to Becky Lynch in this storyline, in this situation, in this moment.
I meant Ronda's real and Becky's fake.
Which I realize is the storyline, right? Which it mystifies me that we brought that into the storyline.
Yeah. Because
I'm like, I'm not going to rehash all that mess. Because it is late. But Ronda doesn't get both shoulders on the ground, so immediately commentary goes into that, and I think that's an audible they called and then decided Monday night not to go with. Because I think had Ronda not gotten injured in the match, supposedly Ronda has broken her hand and will be out of action. She's not just leaving; she's now going to have to be out. I think if we don't have the injury, we call that up for a little bit and have that discussion. But now that she's not going to be there at all, like, why does it matter? We just go with Becky won, the end. And I don't think anyone's going to care. I don't care. Thoughts, Tom?
I don't think anyone's necessarily going to care either. But I still think that WWE is keeping that door open with Ronda, and if you defeat her by a kind of, roll up kind of thing, Ronda doesn't tap out, Ronda doesn't look weak, and it keeps Ronda happy.
Yeah. I mean, Ronda's going to be away for a while. Ronda will absolutely come back. Like, given the year she just had, she is more than welcome back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Becky wins. Pyro goes off. WrestleMania goes off the air at 12:30. Quick hits time here on Pen Mail.
Okay.
All right. Let's play a little F, Marry, Kill. Takeover, WrestleMania, Raw after WrestleMania. This is from our buddy Justin at Drunk Canes Fan on Twitter.
mean, I think you have to kill the Raw after WrestleMania.
Okay, I agree wholeheartedly.
Because there's a true benefit out of that. I mean, sometimes there is, you have a little bit of a shakeup, but especially the way that it is right now, it's just filler.
Yep. With the shakeup 2 weeks after now, Raw after WrestleMania is just a non-canon show. It's just what it is. So I agree. Interested to see your next two.
I think you take over and you marry WrestleMania.
Oh, Tom, a man after my own heart. WrestleMania is always going to be there for you.
WrestleMania is tradition. WrestleMania is years and years and years and years.
It has its ups and downs. Sometimes you hate it, but you still love it. Yeah, you may not like it, but you love it.
NXT is that short, like energetic thing. It's, that comes around every once in a while, I guess, but
NXT is punk rock. Like, it happens and you're there in the moment and you're grinding your teeth and you're howling like a wolf and you find some rope. What?
WrestleMania is your memories. It's what you grew up with.
It's comfort. It's home.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I agree wholeheartedly. From our buddy Noah's and Lock716 on Twitter. Minus the length of your show, in your opinion, was this one of the best overall booked Manias? That's part one. There's a part two. And I said this is a top 10 all time for me. So yeah, I say yes. Pacing was right. The right people won. The crowd went home happy. It was a great show.
It was strong. I mean, I'd have to start getting out charts and go over all 35 of them, but yeah, sure. I'll go with it now, and then, I'll walk back on that later on.
Yeah. 6 months from now, we should rewatch it and see how we feel.
Yeah.
That'd be an interesting exercise. Part two of this question. Also, who would you like to see be Kofi's next challenger? Orton Kofi could be fun considering their history. I wouldn't.
I don't want that.
I don't either. I mean, I get what you're saying. I could see that being like a, if we did that as a 1 month build to a B pay-per-view, all right, whatever. Then move on. There's no one else. I think AJ Kofi's great. I think Owens Kofi is great. I just want to see Owens and New Day go back and forth. There's money in that. I could see New Day moving back to Raw. And I could see a Drew Kofi, right? Or Drew coming to SmackDown. And I think that's big.
Drew's only a matter of time till he holds the strap.
Oh yeah, for sure. And he should. He checks all the boxes. From our buddy at Meat Positive Pete on Twitter. Kofi winning was the highlight of the night, but what can they do to fix the length of the broadcast? I wanted to appreciate Becky more, but was too tired. It's hard when you've got a roster this deep. It's hard when you've got 335 titles you need to defend. You can't split WrestleMania into 2 nights. I already fear for what that's going to do to New Japan and Wrestle Kingdom next year.
Yeah.
Because after the first day, the hype is gone. Even if you split the matches up correctly, right? So I don't know what the answer is, because you want everyone to be on the show. You want everyone to get their payday from that show. And if you're in this business, now the goal in this business now for this generation who grew up watching the Attitude Era and the new generation and all is to be at WrestleMania. Whether you're in that battle royal in the first match of the night or you're main eventing, you got your Mania moment. So you want these guys that have reached the WWE level to get that. it's hard to say what you do to fix it. Splitting it is the easy answer, but it's not the right answer. And I don't know what the right answer is.
I mean, I don't know if you can really do anything about length for the reasons that you've said. Maybe push the pre-show back a little bit. And I mean, realistically, have the show, go 2 hours earlier, let's say.
Are you saying add an intermission, basically?
I'm trying to figure out how to do this, because if it's going to end at 12:30, let's see, 11:30.
So let's say you start at noon.
All right, so you push an hour. Push it an hour back. Start the pre-show at 4 instead of 5. And start the actual show at 6 instead of 7.
So what if you started at noon? And this is still, we're not doing anything about the length of the card here, but this is me adding a break in. You start at noon, you go noon to 4. You have a half-hour intermission. You come back at 4:30, you go to 10. Now you've built in more time, but you could start at 1 or 2, whatever you want to do. You built in more time, but you've added that intermission for the live crowd to get up, stretch, go get something to drink, go to the bathroom. You've added everyone at home the chance to, go see the sunlight. I don't know that there's a good answer here. And an interesting piece of this is if you read the 10K filings or the 10S filings. The part of the bonus structure, 33% of the bonus structure of executives of WWE is based upon growth in the number of average hours viewed on WWE Network.
Okay.
Every year that WrestleMania, their biggest event with the most eyes on it, gets longer, that number of average hours goes up. And they bonus more. So I don't think the problem is solved.
System.
Yeah. I don't think the problem is solved anytime soon. And again, this show is long. It was paced correctly. The card was laid out correctly. So yeah, it was a really long day, but it felt good. Right? We were all tired by the main event. I don't doubt that the 83,000 in MetLife were tired. I know I was exhausted. Yeah. Mentally, physically, emotionally. So
I mean, we had a break. We didn't have to actually start caring until, say, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. These are people that were there hours before that.
I didn't go tailgate and then go to WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Okay, last question. One from Justin in our Discord, which if you go to our Twitter, maybe I'll make that the pin tweet. You can join our Discord where we hang out live during pretty much anything. Some of us are in there. From Justin. Which day of the past 4 days was the best day of wrestling and why? I'd argue NXT TakeOver rocked from start to finish.
Yeah.
I'm still going to pick Sunday. It was Mania. It was a long, exhausting day, but it goes back to what we were talking about during F, Marry, Kill. Like, you can't wake up that morning and be like, mad, because it's Mania Day.
Yeah.
Like, it may not have been the best wrestling, but it's the highest day of pageantry and pomp and circumstance. And that is... It feels like the one day we're socially accepted into the world as wrestling fans.
It's fun to follow Twitter on WrestleMania Day because you still get the handful of people that just bitch endlessly about the fact that why are all these people talking about wrestling?
It's fake, right? I only saw one person that we follow through our account, and I chirped back at him. I could not do it. And I, of course, went back at them with everything you watch on TV and the movies is fake too, right? So, all right, quick hits on SmackDown and Raw, and then we got to get out of here. Paige is bringing a tag team to face the Iconics and challenge them. Which, yay, Paige is back.
Yeah.
Lars is back. He showed up on both shows and laid people out.
Glad to see that.
Yeah.
Just because it means that his head's in a better place. So
even though he's also a racist POS.
Which is, bad for him. So
yeah. I still don't want anyone to have mental issues. That's not good. But he's still POS. Let's see. The Hardy Boys are the new SmackDown Tag Team Champions. They beat the Usos on Tuesday night. Lacey Evans, it appears to be Becky's next challenger. Becky no-sold her the woman's right on Monday, and then Tuesday took it like a champ and oversold it. What else? What else big did we miss? I don't think we missed anything else. Both of these shows were pretty, yeah. Next week is the Superstar Shakeup, though. So, it's about to go down. Which is exciting. Sami Zayn is back. He's still a heel. We didn't miss that. I also did enjoy the moment Tuesday night where Orton RKO'd somebody and then immediately Kevin Owens showed up and stunned them. Which is good for a chuckle. I'm sure I missed something, but we have been going for almost 2 hours now, so it is time to punch out because we are not we are not WrestleMania. So Tom, tell the people where they can find you on the internet.
To the Twitter machine at Mr. Workrate, at MR Workrate. Other things, but I'm too tired to even think about that right now.
Right. You can find me on the internet at JCBobbitt, JCBOBBITT on Twitter or wherever finer social medias pervade. You can find the show on Twitter at CheatersMVRPin. You can find us on Facebook at Cheaters Never Pin. Give us a big blue thumbs up. Tell us how much you like us. And you can find us on Instagram at Cheaters Never Pin. I'm going to start updating those again. You can also find us on Discord. There's some link that's a bunch of letters and numbers because we're not fancy enough to have a dedicated link to it. But go to our Twitter. You can find it there. Join us and hang out with us while we watch wrestling. It's fun. Lots of fun people chatting in there. If you like audiobooks, go to audibletrial.com/cheatersneverpin. Get one for free for us when you join an Audible trial. And use our Amazon link on cheatersneverpin.com before you do any shopping there. We'll get back. Now that WrestleMania is over, we can get back to like a normal show. Except for next week because we'll have the shake up. We'll be like, can you believe? Yeah, Tom's done. So let's get out of here. We'll see you next week and break down the Superstar Shakeup and anything else that may happen in wrestling in the next 7 days. So thanks for listening. As always, I'm JC.
Tom.
We'll catch you on the flip side.